From the land of overflowing lakes, raging rivers, and swollen streams, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric with you, back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Twin Cities sports scene. Yes, indeed, another episode of 10K Takes Television, and We've got floods across the great state of Minnesota, and we have a flood of sports to talk about as well.
Oh, very good. I like the transition.
Yeah, that was just for you.
Yeah, well, you threw me a softball.
A rare thumbs up from you.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, lots to talk about as far as sports go. You got two teams in the playoffs, for now anyway.
Wow.
Well, we'll see how long it lasts. You got the Twins in full gear. Your St. Paul Saints, MLS, Minnesota United. Where do you want to start? Gopher baseball? You could take your pick here. Should we start with the Wolves?
I think we should.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll start with the Wolves. They got off to a despicable start in Denver on last Sunday night.
It's called altitude sickness.
Ooh, boy. It was a sickly performance, to say the least, by your Timber Puppies to start things off. But we knew going in that if you do not get a performance out of Karl Anthony Towns, you're in trouble. And he has got to score. And, I think that's going to be the key to this whole series. Can Karl Anthony Towns score? Can they slow up Nikola Jokic? I mean, man, he is good. Jokic is not only an adept scorer and obviously a rebounder with his size, but he might be one of the best passing centers you'll ever watch. And not just on assists, but I mean just really good passes.
Hard to dispute that. The Joker is an ace. I mean, he is.
That's two now.
Yeah, you like that? That's another good one. Well, I'm telling you, he's got a unique game. He sees the floor like a Magic Johnson.
Yes.
He moves at a little slower pace, but it's incredibly effective. He sets up his teammates. They feed off of him. And look, you brought up Karl Anthony Towns, an ant. Superstars have to shine on the playoff stage. If you want to really make your mark and your legacy, this is when Cat and Ant have to ramp it up. Rudy G as well. Really the entire roster. Now, you can just say that was a clunker the other night in Denver at elevation 5280 that, they just didn't really show up. They're not done. There's a lot of basketball left. But if they don't play 100% better, this will be a quick series. I think the Denver Nuggets are acting like they get no respect, even though they're the top seed, because I heard a lot of people say, well, they're beatable, right? I think you and I even brought that up. I think they're taking that personally. They have a boulder on their shoulder, and they don't want to give the Timberwolves a sliver of hope. So game 2 is going to be huge.
Yeah, well, they're all huge. I mean, you've got to win. You got to win at least one on the road if you're the Timberwolves. That's the only way you can win the series.
Right, and if they win game 2, then that basically whitewashes the victory in game 1. They'll have home court.
Yeah, exactly. But back to Karl Anthony Towns. Let's go back to last year against Memphis. If you recall, he disappeared in 3 of the 6 games. He was not a factor, partially because he got in foul trouble and then whining to the refs and all that stuff, and he just basically took himself out. Now, the 3 games where he played well, the Timberwolves either won or were right in it till the end. And, of course, they blew some big leads last year as well against Memphis. But this is not last year. Now you have Rudy Gobert. They've got to figure out a way, and we've been saying this since day one, you got to figure out a way to have Rudy Gobert as an effective part of your offense. I heard Charles Barkley, and he hates the Rudy Gobert trade. He said the other day, he said, man, that trade is just stupid. And he doesn't understand it. And I agree with him on this point. The way that the NBA is set up now, that you've got to be able to defend a 3. Not only do you have to be able to make 3s, but you got to be able to defend 3s. Right. And when you got 2 bigs on the floor, like Karl Anthony Towns and like Rudy Gobert, how do you do that? Those guys really aren't. Karl Anthony Towns isn't a good defender no matter what, let alone try to go out and guard guys at the 3-point line.
They're not guys you're going to throw on the arc.
No.
To disrupt a 3-ball try by somebody. And I find it, baffling that you have the Twin Towers, that you can't find a way for those Twin Towers to slow up Nikola Jokic. I mean, you have 2 guys, 7 feet plus. Look, this Rudy G thing right now, it's fair to mention it in the same breath with Herschel Walker. We went down that road very early in the season. Now, it could change. They can change the narrative, but right now, I agree with Charles Barkley. It looks like a blockbuster deal that is weighted heavily in Utah's favor.
Yeah. All right, let's switch to hockey because your Minnesota Wild come into a postseason. And as much as we bang on the Timberwolves for their postseason woes or lack thereof, as far as their efficiency and the positive things that have happened, the Wild haven't done much either. The Wild can't get out of the first round routinely. Last year, another great example. They had home ice against the St. Louis Blues, and they don't get out of the first round.
Well, if you compare the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Wild, and of course the T-Wolves have been around longer, but the pinnacle moments for both franchises are going to the Western Conference Finals. The T-Wolves got beat by the LA Lakers in 6 games in 04, and the Wild got beat by the Anaheim Ducks in like 03 or 04.
Yeah, it was 03.
So that's it. They've never gotten further than that, and they've never gotten close to reaching that, point. The Wild, playoff trips 10 of the last 11 years, but 6 straight one and dones. I feel like they're on a postseason treadmill. I feel like now it's time to step up and find a way to get past a very good Dallas team and then win another round. I mean, obviously the goal is to get 16 wins. That means you are the Stanley Cup champs. But you got to get past round 2 at a minimum. But I think Minnesota sports fans they know the end of this movie. It's Gilligan's Island. It's the same ending every season.
It is. And they can't. You said they got to get to 16. Let's get to 4 for a change.
Or 1.
Or 1. I mean, as is the case with the Minnesota Twins, they get to 1 win. That would be nice. Yeah, because they haven't won it's still 18 in a row.
Oh, my goodness. And you and I were at the play-in game last Friday night when the Timberwolves crushed OKC to get in. And the arena was jumping. There was incredible electricity. Right. And this is just for a play-in game to be thrown to the Wolves, Denver, the top seed.
Thrown to the Nuggets.
So I can't even imagine what would go on in Minnesota if the Timberwolves or Wild went on a deep run, or the Twins. It's hard to fathom, but that's just not happening in these parts.
No, it usually doesn't. Hasn't for a long time. As you said, 2003, 2004.
Goodness. All right, stick around. We're going to talk some baseball with Corey Koskie, who used to play with the Twins. This is 10K Takes, your NBA and NHL playoffs ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Maya? Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back. 10,000 Takes rolls along. Twins baseball, a couple weeks into the season. I think that there's some things that Twins fans have to be very happy about. Maybe a few things they should be concerned about. But let's talk to former Twins third baseman Corey Koskie joining us now. Corey, your observations thus far on the first couple of weeks of not only Twins baseball, but Major League Baseball. What do you like, and what maybe don't you like?
Well, I do enjoy the rule changes. I like the speed of the game. The shot clock. I'm not shot clock. The pitch clock. Really enjoy that. The size of the bags, little bit getting used to, but it's changed the dynamic of the game a little bit, and it's putting more of an emphasis on quality hitting, quality at bats, guys running around the bases a little more versus a strikeout a home run. So that makes it a lot more fun to watch as a spectator of the sport. I would say that I'm very high positive on the rule changes, but it's just a little bummer that they had to put in rules like that, forcing guys to make the difference, especially with the shift. You would think that guys would have figured out and bunted for a double, but for whatever reason they thought it was they'd rather strike out than bunt for a double.
Corey, pace of play has been a big issue with MLB, and they are craving that younger demo. You coach high school baseball at Benilde St. Margaret's here in the Twin Cities. Do you feel like these rule changes will lure in those younger fans and get more people to play baseball?
Baseball, the Major League Baseball is one piece of it, but we got to do a better job engaging kids and playing the game, because baseball could be the most exciting thing, but if you got a coach that one coach hitting 12 ground balls or hitting ground balls to one kid as 11 kids stand behind him, that's not too much fun for these kids. So there's got to be a couple of things. I don't know if you saw in the Arizona league, where basically guys can tap their helmet to challenge a pitch, and then it goes to the big screen, and the big screen shows a TrackMan so you can see it if it's a ball or a strike. So that would be, that stuff's pretty exciting. So when you kind of mix technology with the game, I think there's a pretty good trajectory baseball could be in. Well, and then on top of that, Major League Baseball needs to do a better job promoting their players, and doing a better job from kind of the social media standpoint of really kind of hitting, from an Instagram, TikTok, getting those bite-sized pieces of the game.
Yeah, and making it available on television might be something that they want to work on. It seems to be a staple for baseball that is not right now. Interesting that you mentioned that about tapping the helmet and getting a challenge on a strike or ball call. Rob Manfred has said that one of his top priorities, maybe not next year, but probably the following year, will be the automated strike zone. Your thoughts on that?
I struggle with it, because when I played, they had, just from a speed of the game standpoint. If the game is 18-2, all of a sudden the strike zone opens up, and you gotta swing early in the count just to get that game over. Last thing you want to do is get squeezed on an 18-2 game. So there's understandably in a tight game, in a 2-1 game, you want that strike zone locked in and loaded. But when the game gets blown out, you want that strike zone to open up so guys have to swing and just kind of get that game over with.
Give us your early opinions on the Luis Arraez trade for Pablo Lopez. Luis Arraez is ripping it up down there with the Miami Marlins, but the Twins are so happy with Lopez, they're going to give him that 4-year extension for about $75 million. So he's won the MLB lottery. It looks like a win-win. What do you think?
Well, I love Arraez as a hitter. I love watching him hit. But as we all know, pitching and defense wins championships, and without a guy to throw the ball over the plate and compete, you're not going to win many championships. You can have the best lineup in the world, but if you don't have anybody that's going to throw the ball and get people out, you're not going to win many games. And so, though I hated to see him go, it looks like it's probably, if they can keep this guy healthy and he keeps throwing the way he does, he's going to be a good one for the Twins.
Do you like what you've seen from the starting pitchers thus far? Obviously, they've, for the most part, they've all gone 5+ innings. I think they had one stumble early on, but other than that, starting pitching has been a positive thus far. Do you like what you've seen?
Well, yes. Anytime you can kind of go into the ball game a little bit with your starting pitching, that's what you ask for, especially the way the game has changed. Getting 5 innings out of these guys, it's just a different game. You don't have the guys, going expected to go 7, 8, 9 innings. But yeah, they've given their chance. They've given the team a chance to win. And anytime you can give your team a chance to win, that's all you want from your starting pitcher.
I know he's had a lot of whiffs recently, but if the Twins can get Byron Buxton to play 120 games or more, what's this guy capable of?
Well, we've all seen it when he actually gets out there on the field and he plays the game. But that's the magic. I just don't. I'm not smart enough for this game anymore. They have all these workouts. They have everything down to a science. But it just seems like guys are getting hurt more, and guys aren't getting play. Where you get guys that come off us. Really, in my generation is when you start to see the working out more. But you look back, like the Herbeck generation. These guys that go straight from literally the farm to play baseball and end up playing, 150, 160 games without even working out at all. And so if they can figure out a way to keep that guy on the field and play center field, he's a pretty special player.
Do you think that the science of it, the keeping guys out, scheduled days off, load management, if you will. Do you think that has made Major League Baseball players unable or soft and unable to play every day? I mean, I don't expect Cal Ripken out of people, but you would think that your regulars should be able to play 145, 150 games, right?
Baseball's an interesting sport that way because you get these nagging injuries that just don't go away. And the tough thing with baseball and trying to get guys in, it's the style of play. So if you want a guy to play really hard and go full effort all the time, to do that every day with the travel and the food and all that stuff, you're asking a lot out of these guys. But if they can manage their almost effort level at times during the course of a game, then you might have that chance. But everything you love about a guy about his compete actually takes away from his ability to play every game. And so you see those hard-nosed players, the guys who play hard, but you don't see them playing 145 to 100 and 152, 160 games a year. These guys get stuck in 90 and 80 because they're hurt. They blow a hamstring, they blow a quad. It's just they just go. So I don't know. It's the science. I don't know. You have all these experts that are, they're trying to figure it out. So hopefully they'll figure something out.
Corey, before we let you go, I know you're a huge hockey guy, grew up in Canada. NHL playoffs. So you want to tell us who's going to win that cup?
Oh boy.
I'll tell you that one in eight weeks. The thing about NHL playoffs is it's all goaltending. You run into hot goaltending, and all of a sudden you get a big upset. You think the Bruins are going to win, they run into a hot goalie, and next thing you know, the Bruins are out in 5, and they lose 4 of the games 1-0. It's just one of those things that if you get into a hot goalie, and all of a sudden you throw everything out the window. And so hopefully the Wild's goalies get really hot, and we can ride them all the way to the cup.
Well, sounds like a plan. Corey, appreciate you spending some time with us. Good luck with the Benilde baseball team this year. We'll talk to you again later on this summer.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Corey.
All right, he is Corey Koskie, former Twins third baseman, big hockey fan, big hockey guy, right here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Well, if you're a sports fan and you're in Minnesota, this is a good time of year for you. As a matter of fact, if you're in the Twin Cities, it's a confusing time because this weekend, my goodness, on Friday night, Timberwolves, Wild, and Twins all playing at the same time. On Sunday, they all play again, not necessarily at the same time. Throw in a couple of St. Paul Saints games over the weekend. I mean, take your pick. Where do you go?
Sports gridlock. Yeah, well, I guess it depends on what sport you like or which team you think has the best chance of winning. Part of this is because the Twin Cities has dual arenas. I mean, the Wild have their own building in St. Paul.
Right.
The Timberwolves have their own venue in Minneapolis. If you look at, say, Boston, the Bruins and the Celtics share that arena. Look at Los Angeles,
Right.
Crypto.com.
Yeah.
LA Kings in hockey, Clippers and Lakers in the NBA. They got to juggle those 3 teams because they're all in the postseason. So that creates headaches in those markets. Whereas here, it's easy for the NHL and the NBA to say, we can play these guys whenever we want because there's no conflict with the other team.
Yeah, and two, the fact that they're playing at the exact
Yes.
same time, too. I know on Sunday there's a little bit of
It's
time.
staggered.
Yeah, it's staggered. You could go to the Twins in the afternoon. I think the Wild play at like
Yes.
5:30, and then
The triple dip, are you going to participate?
No, I know you're going to try this. I have this funny feeling
I'm
you're
going to get to 2 of them.
Oh, boy.
I may do the Twins on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
That'll be my respite.
So you're not going to do well with the weather. You might want to wait till Sunday. The weather just keeps. It's just been terrible. I mean, you have what 380-degree days, and now we're been back into the 30s and 40s.
It's the only state where you can lose 50 degrees in 3 days. Snow can melt and be gone, and then come back.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Speaking of coming back. Football will be back on the radar here really soon. We've got the NFL draft in a little over a week. Are you fired up about this? I know you've got all your draft board at home up on your bedroom wall trying to decide who the Vikings are going to take in the first round. Do they even have a first round pick? I don't even know.
Yeah, I've got about 4 mock drafts conducted now in my man cave that I'll hunker down in and try to refine over the weekend.
Your whole house is a man cave, by the way.
I'm not really that juiced up about the NFL draft. I think it's a lot of hype, a lot of huffing and puffing, and nobody. All we know is who the teams choose, and then everybody gives a grade out and says, "Oh, great pick, bad pick, mediocre pick." Well, we really don't know how it's going to go until 3 or 4 years have elapsed. I mean, you want to grade a draft? Take a look at Minnesota's, say, 2019 draft,
right,
and look at who they chose and see who stuck around. That's how you grade it. You got to give it time. But I realize for the network, ESPN,
right,
and I think maybe ABC now, it's huge. It's a bonanza, the amount of eyeballs on the draft, and they shop it around. It's in Kansas City this year. It used to be in New York. Now they're moving it around. It's been all over the NFL map, and it will soon be in the Twin Cities.
You think it will?
Well, I don't know when, but you can bet Minneapolis will make a bid.
Yeah, they'll probably put it at U.S. Bank Stadium, your favorite venue. Maybe some panels will fall off and hit some folks. So with the NFL draft, here's my biggest problem with the NFL draft. Other than the first round or the quarterbacks and running backs, do you really know who the best left tackle is in college football unless you are a savant? I mean, unless this is your thing. And if this is your thing, get a life, by the way. I mean, it's just ridiculous. People get all fired up about the stupid draft. All I can say is I talked to our friend Chuck Foreman the other day, and I asked him, I said, so who are they going to take? And I said, better yet, what are they going to take as far as the Vikings go? And I think that remains the question. What position do they need to pick from? And that's, to me, more than who it is in particular, because I don't know who these guys are. I don't follow it that closely.
No, it's all a dice roll, and I'll give you 2 names. John Randall, undrafted out of Texas A&I Kingsville, now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Adam Thielen, undrafted out of Minnesota State Mankato, going to be playing for Carolina. We saw Adam the other night at the T-Wolves playing game. These guys, look how they excelled at the NFL level, and Adam's still playing. They weren't even good enough to be drafted. So don't take it too seriously, folks. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. There will be another John Randall or Adam Thielen out there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, one more segment to go. Takes of the day coming up next. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10K takes on television. We're going to put a ribbon and a ball on this one and wrap it up here shortly. We'll have takes of the day in a couple of minutes, but we cannot ignore the fact that that University of Minnesota spring football game is this weekend.
Oh, Lord. I did not know that. And we spent that whole segment just a few minutes ago talking about all the options that you might have as a sports fan.
So that's another one.
And we left that one off. So
that's probably the cheapest. That would be the best bargain.
It might be free.
It might be free.
Is it free, the spring game?
I think it's yes.
It should be. If it's not, it should be. As a matter of fact, they might want to pay you to go watch spring college football.
Yeah, and it is the polar opposite of a spring football game in, say, Tuscaloosa.
Or Columbus.
Or South Bend, or Columbus, or Ann Arbor, or probably even Madison, even Lincoln. Even though the Cornhuskers basically suck, and they're getting a new mascot.
That's what I hear.
Husker is going to have a new look, but it's a huge deal in some places, but it's never been able to move the needle in Minneapolis for various reasons.
Yeah, well, right now it's got way too much competition in this town. Even though the Gophers are okay, PJ's kind of got them on a trajectory.
A pinstripe bowl track?
Yes, I was going to say a trajectory to get them into the Pinstripe Bowl next year. I don't know. Who knows how good they're going to be. All right. I think we should get into takes of the day.
All right, yeah. My spies tell me that you are just simmering. You're ready to boil over.
I have.
So let's find out if you're going to be an angry American, grumpy guardian, or dare I say it, a happy camper.
Well, I think most people are happy about the fact that baseball games in the major leagues are a little shorter now. Actually, a lot shorter. They're about a half hour shorter than they were at this point last year. As you heard Corey Koskie say earlier in the show, games are moving along. Pace of game is good. And I think most people appreciate that. The people that don't appreciate it, the people that are selling concessions, beer, pretzels, hot dogs, souvenirs, helmets, bats, whatever. Because now they have about a half hour less time to sell all that good stuff. Well, if you recall, Major League Baseball a few years ago, most teams, I think just about every team, and this is on their own doing, has a last call. So you can't buy alcohol, i.e. beer, after the seventh inning. Seventh inning, before the seventh inning stretch, last call. Well, because the games are shorter now, they're selling less beer. And so the Minnesota Twins, among 4 teams who have now moved their last call from the 7th inning to the 8th inning. Now, remember, the idea of this was so that your fans don't drive home drunk, right? They're not inebriated as they walk out of the stadium, hurt somebody, hurt themselves, whatever the case may be. Safety was the issue. Well, apparently not anymore. They've moved it to the 8th inning now because they got to sell more beer. So if you're thinking safety, wouldn't you want to move this thing back to like the 6th inning or whatever, the 5th inning even? If these games are flying by, and if you're the home team, 8th inning, what the heck? Why even shut it down at all? Just keep it open the whole time. Yeah. It is pointless. And you are lying to the public about this. You're not about safety. You're about the jing. Don't kid us. You're only kidding yourself.
Let's check that mood meter out. Oh, boy. Grumpy Guardian, yes. And let me add, he's drunk with anger.
Drunk with anger.
Major League Booze Ball.
They don't care about their fan safety.
Not good.
No.
For MLB.
Not at all.
All right, well, I have a baseball take as well. It's concerning the Oakland A's, who someday might be in Las Vegas or Portland or Salt Lake City. Or I don't think they're going to stay in Oakland, but you never know.
How about Duluth?
If Duluth can build a ballpark, they might show up. But I do know this. They're last this year already in MLB attendance, averaging over 12K per game. Last season, they were at the bottom as well, averaging just over 9,000 per game. So there's now a group of A's fans saying we're going to have a reverse boycott. We're going to show up in mid-June for a game against Tampa Bay, try to pack the Coliseum to show MLB it's not the fan base that's a mess, it's the organization.
Oh, that's probably
which
true.
is, there's a lot of kernels of truth in that one. So that'll be an interesting one to monitor. The other thing is, at the Oakland Coliseum recently, the New York Mets were there. Right? So their broadcast team on television, Gary Cohen and Ron Darling, were getting set up in the visiting booth, trying to prep for the game. There's a possum in there. Yeah, and the possum apparently did his or hers business in that booth. Oh, no. That sent Cohen and Darling and the entire crew scrambling to find a new location. They just got on the air in time, but that's another example of the Oakland Coliseum being archaic and outdated. But everyone who goes to a game gets a foul ball. That's the good news.
Well, possums like it where it's quiet. The Coliseum's a good place for that.
Serenity at Oakland A's games is the rule of thumb. All right, we got to go. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to Alex Yambrick, David Weld, Corey Koskie for Wally. I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.